Hey tubers, I wanted to show you something. On this 5S and a lot of carburetors, these Briggs ones in particular, they have a pickup tube that drops into the tank. I have right now soaking in some Varisol, just cleaning that carburetor up. I'm not going to dig that out of there. Anyway, here's your pickup tube. I cleaned this up quite a bit, since I pulled it off. Here's the tube. Here's the bottom of the pickup tube. What I want to show you is, if you're taking one of these apart, be really careful. I'm going to show you why. Inside here is a little, oh man, that is so small. It's a little keeper, and underneath that keeper is a little check ball. Well, you can see, the size of my finger in that check ball and that little keeper there. So easy to lose. You have to be really careful when you pull that kind of stuff apart that you don't lose it. The screen that's generally on the bottom of this, I'll probably solder a new one back on there, but it's kind of the first thing to go when you're trying to clean this thing up, when they're solid with varnish and whatever else is in there. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that tube and that keeper and that little check ball there. Hey folks, I don't know if I mentioned on this 5S, but I don't have a spark. What I did do, just for a sanity test, I checked the ohms on the secondary winding to the ignition coil, and that registered 4,000 ohms. Basically what that means is there is resistance. If it registered open loop, that would mean that your secondary windings inside your coil, that your secondary windings have a break in them. If they have a break in them, I have heard that the odd one will actually still fire, but generally that means that you need to pick up a new coil or something that you can make work. And anyway, that's what we're going to do tonight, is we're going to try to establish spark. I'm going to pull that ignition apart, pull this flywheel off, and see what we can do. Hey guys, keep in mind on these little Briggs that the thread on the flywheel is clockwise to remove and counterclockwise to reverse threaded. So this is a 7/8 socket. Oh boy, I gotta be wary of the music all the time here. Friday night at the Opry. That takes your pull start cup off, and your little screen cover. Next is a flywheel. Okay guys, removing the flywheel. I really hate doing it this way, but I've got nothing to hook onto. I don't want to damage the flywheel. I know you'd have some bolt holes, let's say, that you could run a plate into, then use your puller and hook around that plate and push against the end of the crank. In this case, you don't have that. The prescribed method by Briggs for pulling this flywheel off, like I say, not a way that I like doing, but I'll show you how to do it. Here's your flywheel bolt. Again, reverse threaded. Turn it on. Don't run it all the way. You don't want to be driving your hammer into the end of the crank. You want to be just tapping on that bolt. So, look, even I forgot. It's reverse threaded. Just have like about a thread past the end of the crank. That's lots. Any more than that, and you'll end up knocking the thread sideways on the crank, and you'll have to rethread them. Give it a tap with your hammer. That's it. You saw it come loose. There it goes. So we got the points condenser cover off. We're going to do our normal test to make sure that the coil is actually making spark. If it is, then we have a ground or we have some other issue going on there that we can quite easily solve. So we've got our positive, again, positive going to the fixed side of the points. I have that connected. That's the primary and the condenser all hook up there, and the fixed side of the points are all connected in that area right there. So that's my positive lead from my battery. My negative is what's going to run to ground. I'm going to take this, I'm going to scratch on ground, which would be your removable side of the points. Because I don't like to hold on to the spark plug wire and get a shock, I have it hooked up to my spark tester. I have that gapped for, you know, it's pretty wide. I could close that gap up, but you know what? If the spark will cross that wide a gap, then we should have no problem at all. That is grounded to the case right here, as you can see. So all we gotta do is connect the circuit with the negative from our battery. As you can see, we got a nice strong spark. So no issues there. So likely we have some dirty points, or we have a bad ground somewhere. Anyway, we'll sort it out. Spark problem. So that's what we found. Bad ground from the coil. See the rest there? Yeah, that'll impede ground. So clean up the mounting screw. We'll clean up the mounting surfaces, reinstall, and we'll check it again. Hey guys. So, the ground all cleaned up, and we will try it. You shouldn't have to reassemble everything and, you know, spin this thing violently just to be able to get a spark. You should be able to just flip it with your hand, or just even turn it with your hand, and just the induction from the magnet through the coil should make enough spark. I've got that gapped a little closer this time. You know, it's not gapped to the 25 thou that a spark plug should be gapped to for this motor, but I think it's close enough. You don't want a huge wide gap, but you don't want it too close either. You know, you want a fairly true indicator of what's going on. So anyway, I'll just flip this with my hand, see what we got now. And we get a pretty good spark there. And that's that piece. We'll just bolt that back together, tidy it up a touch, and we'll be on to the next thing. Okay guys, we're going to lap these valves. You don't need a whole ton. Just a little bit of a coating on the valve itself. Just drop it into the valve guide. Here's my valve holder. It's too big, so forget about that. And I don't have the tool to hook into the two, let me just show you that, to the two little holes on the top of the valve. Usually they have a flat opening for a spade screwdriver, and you can do it that way, but anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab it by the stem inside the opening here and turn it that way. You don't have to put a ton of pressure. A lot of guys just, you know, really reef on it and push it down, and you know, we're not trying to grind the valves, we're trying to lap the valves here, so the valve seats. So no need to be abrasive, super abrasive with it. So we're going to turn a few times and then move it 45 degrees. Turn it again. See, I'm putting enough pressure on it this way. I'm kind of pulling down and turning at the same time, but I don't have to be pushing down on top of the valve. Turn another 45. You can hear it is actually cutting. Another 45. Just keep doing that. Do that a few times. Don't get crazy about it. I'll show you in a second how you can tell if you've done a good job. Okay guys, I'm finished lapping the valve. You want to know how you can tell if you've done a good job? Just look underneath. You see that little white line? It's like a pencil line all along the bottom of the valve. That is how you know. That line right there is your mating surface. And it's even width the whole way around. And that's what's going to seal up your exhaust valve.